Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to another day of Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, where we're going to get a chance to talk to, or we've had a chance to talk to, tons of fantasy romance authors all month. We are now down to the last week of talking to our authors, and actually, I think this is our third to last one. I've got 2 more authors after this one. We're going to learn about fantasy romance, learn about the author's books, and play some games and spend some time writing. I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of SD Huston, and you're here on my YouTube channel where I publish content about writing and my self-publishing, along with weekly writing sprints. I'm also part of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Ben Pick for Running to Write and Morgan Lee, and I'm the founder and conference chair of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, now heading into its 3rd year. We're almost there. That's in June 28th through the 30th. And besides what I do here on YouTube, I am a fantasy romance and YA fantasy author with a passion for writing about broken characters who face adversity to become better versions of themselves. And there may or may not be dragons, but there's always love to find. Today, I am joined by Kristin Ardis, and we're going to talk about her debut into, actually, it's your overall debut, if I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to have a chance to talk about her book, play a game, and then do some writing sprints. So let me give you guys her bio. Kristin Ardis is the author of Smoke and Light, Book 1 of the Rulers and Rebels trilogy. She writes emotional YA fantasy books for those who believe in hopeful endings and the enduring power of love. When she's not immersed in twisting tropes or curating a playlist for the next book, she's probably enjoying her second cup of tea, living her best aunt life, or hiking the wooded trails at her favorite park. She'll be the one staring at trees, taking photos, and typing story notes on her phone whenever inspiration strikes. And you can connect with her online at KristinArdisBooks.com. I also put that in the chat and pinned it to the top, so it's easy to click on and go to her website. So welcome to my channel, Kristin. Would you want to introduce yourself and add whatever you might want to add to that?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited because this is like my first official author appearance, I think. So
okay, cool.
I'm glad that it's with you. I love being on here with you. My bio covers a lot of stuff, but if you want to know a little bit more, I live in central Indiana, Indianapolis area. If you were to come over to my house, I'd probably feed you tacos or homemade soup. I love indoor plants. I have a capybara squishmallow pillow that I love. And one of my favorite Christmas gifts I received is a large Sherpa blanket. All things cozy for me. I love it. And in addition to romantic fantasy authoring, I like to design reader and writer merch. I have a little shop that's linked in the description, and there's a discount code for you guys if you want to check it out. There's an enemies to lovers design, a reader starburst kind of design, and some other writer designs on there too. So
I love enemies to lovers, so I'll have to check that out for sure. So we have Rita showed up. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hubs and Pups wants to be walked, so I'll be back and saying hello. Nice to meet you. Oh, thank you for coming, Rita. I used to live in Indiana. I lived there for my teenage years and graduated in high school. I was up in Otterburn, which is north. It's north, but I don't remember if it's east or west now. It's been too long since I've been there, but of West Lafayette.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I actually had half a scholarship to Purdue University, but I couldn't afford the other half, and my parents couldn't afford it, so I didn't go.
It's a pricey school.
It's very pricey. And I told my counselor that I was going to work so I could pay the other part. And she was like, you need to do student loans. And I remember thinking, I don't want student loans. I don't want to have loans at 18 years old. So I joined the military instead.
There you go. Yeah. I grew up in a small town in Indiana for like the first 8 years of my life. And then I was in northern Kentucky for like 18 years outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. So I just moved back here to Indiana in 2017.
Okay. Yeah, you went back. Otterburn's very small too. It had one main street, no stoplights, I can remember. Or maybe it had one. Yeah, it had one. And that was at the crossing of Main Street with where the elementary school was at. But like the high school I went to was a junior/high school combination, and there was like 100 kids in my class, so it was really small. And my dad used to always joke Otterburn. He said Otterburn on a dog's butt. I was like, what? But yeah, Hoosiers. There you go. Oh, Claire said, hello, hello. First day back to writing after a work-related hiatus. Awesome. We will be doing sprints here in a little bit, closer to the next hour. And we're going to learn about Kristin and her debut. And Rita says, so cool. What branch of military? Thank you for your service. Did I say? I must have said military, huh?
You did.
Oh, okay. See, I don't even, I'm on my third cup of coffee, but obviously I'm still not awake.
It's all good.
Yes, I was in the Army. I was in for 7 years. I actually met my husband there. I was medically discharged because I tore my shoulder. So, but yeah, still gives me issues to this day. It's never going to go away. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, thank you. All right, so let's. We're going to talk about your book. Would you want to put that up there? Yay, Smoking Light. I actually do have the hardcover too. So.
Yay, me too.
You too. So we'll just hold it up the whole time.
Right here. Actually, that is my map on the wall behind me.
Are those all pages from the book too?
So I was going to do that and then realized that the copy that I have that was kind of like scratch and dent, I used to do my final proofread. And so there's like green pin and red pin check marks on every page because I was checking every page. So I didn't want that to be on the wall.
I think that would be cool though, because the people would look at it as like a process.
Yeah, I think because I am very like particular about color and things like that, I wanted all plain. So this is actually one of my friend's books that I had like an extra scratch and dent copy of. And I tore pages out one day and put them on the wall.
Nice. All right. Well, the first question, and for those in the audience, we are going to move into the question and answer period. You're welcome to ask a question at any time for the author, even if it's outside of the question and answer period, because we will come back to the chat often and check to see what other questions you might have. But the first question I like to ask all of the authors who've come on is, what drew you to write in this genre?
Yeah. So I've come to realize I'm a really intuitive writer. I don't always know why a story shapes the way it does. I don't always feel like I'm making a decision as much as I'm just telling the story. So even falling into like genre and subgenre has kind of felt that way for me. So I chose YA fantasy, and I write young adult and new adult, and I kind of blur the line a little bit, which I think happens a lot these days anyway. But
Yeah.
I chose that in particular because that is what I love. And my stories just kind of happen to involve those romantic elements. So that's what I naturally kind of gravitate toward and write. So I am in the romantic fantasy world as an author because of that. I love exploring themes in my work. So relationships, whether that's romantic, friendship, or like even social, like relational elements are a key part of that. And then Spoken Light, it kind of comes from this lens of identity and who do you become when you forget who you are? What choices do you make for better, for worse? And then if and when you do like remember who you were, how do you reconcile those differences? And so Kara's story has a lot of relational and romantic tension because of that. It's because of her own like dealing with that, and then everyone who knows and loves her is also experiencing all of these things. So a lot of like second chance romance, slow burn, protective kind of vibes there. But also, how do you rule a kingdom you don't remember? How do you relearn your people, your home, your place in it? And just, like I said, a lot of relational tension. So that kind of drew me in for this particular book, was those elements were already at play, and it just kind of slotted into that romantic fantasy space.
So you've given us a little bit about the book. Do you want to tell us more about it, the setup, the characters?
Yeah, sure. So Smoke and Light is an upper YA with new adult crossover romantic fantasy. It has some dystopian vibes because it's set in a world where magic.
There's elevators.
What?
There's elevators and magic.
Yes, there are elevators. It's really interesting to see like people start reading it because when I did my beta readers, they knew nothing about the book except for my love for it, which was amazing that they signed up to read it.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a blurb. I had nothing. They just knew it was YA fantasy, and I loved it. And so seeing them go like, whoa, like this world is way different than like what I expected from like just hearing YA fantasy. So it has those dystopian vibes because the world has like magic and science meeting, and then you have these royals facing off against rebels. So those are kind of give you those dystopian vibes. If you like Shadow and Bone and Shatter Me, you'll like Smoke and Light. But if you want just like a quick little bite-sized look. It's the key to a war-torn kingdom's future lies within the princess's forgotten past. Answers may hide in the forest beyond the gates, but the secrets lurking in the shadows could cost Kara in her kingdom everything. So it's very much like there's mysterious vibes.
Mm-hmm.
You've got royalty, you've got memory loss, secrets and lies. There's a ballroom scene. There's a magical forest, which is a key part of how there's advanced science and like advancements in that vein of things. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I'm right about 16% through, but I did definitely pick up that, well, I think any amnesia story that has that trope, that amnesia, there's going to be inherent mystery. Yeah. But I mean, so far from what I see, because I haven't read the whole book yet, but there's these little hints dropped here and there that what everyone's telling her, what her life was, may not be exactly what it was. That there was something else that she knew at some point, but she doesn't know it now. And
and I think that's inherent in any kind of anything, right? Because anyone you're talking to has their own perception of the facts, right? And so she's very much in this world where she has to kind of figure out herself and her place in all these things that are going on. And she has a big role in her kingdom, and she has to figure that out and also try to slot herself back into her relationships. Like she has this best friend she's really close with, and trying to like be there in the way that she wants to be for the people in her life. She has a fiance that she's like, I want to love you the way that I used to. How do I do that? And so it's very there's lots of tension there.
Yeah, but he's very sweet, and she is attracted to him. You know, it's not much really said about like his physical attributes. She's attracted to him, to the person that he's shown to her so far.
Yeah.
I can't help it. There's a part of me, because I read a lot of dark fantasy, and I don't think this is dark fantasy, but I keep thinking there's something more here, that maybe she didn't want to marry him and she was leaving him or something. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen, because I don't quite get that vibe from the book, but my mind starts going, what if it's this? What if it's that? What if she finds out that she wasn't going to marry him?
It's funny because, again, like perspectives, right? Like no one reads the same book. It's really fascinating because your own experiences, your own perceptions, the other books you've read or haven't read, all kind of shape how you come into a book. And so it's really fun to like have people tell me where they're at in the book and give me the impression that they have at certain points, because it's like I'm just sitting here like I'm not going to say anything.
No, I don't want you to tell me. I love surprises.
Because there's so much. It's really challenging actually with this book in particular, because there's so much in here that can be spoiled. And it's not a problem. I've heard from people that they have read it twice, and they're like, actually on the second go through, it's just as interesting to me because I know what's happening and I can see how you laid it out. And like, I'm still really invested in the story. And so it's like, okay, if you get some spoilers, not a terrible thing, but it's still a different experience than not knowing anything going into it. So
yeah, definitely know that. I have one big mystery in my debut into fantasy romance, of the main character's background and where she came from. And I very, very put little hints here and there, to the point that nobody has guessed what she is by the time they find out what she is. But then they say, oh, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So shadowing is fun. There's a lot in Smoke and Light, and like double meanings of things. And it was a lot of fun for me. And every time I was editing, there were certain lines in particular where I would just get like really weepy, because with knowledge, it's like, kind of like got me every time I read it. But without the knowledge, like it's just another sentence. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We had Adega stop in. Hello. Thank you for stopping by. And Clara says, I love this. My first series is sci-fi fantasy, so mixing the two genres is close to heart.
Nice, Clara.
All right. Next question I have is, I did love the idea that you have magic-fueled scientific and technological advancements in the book. Actually, I think this might have been your question. What was your favorite item that was both magic and technology?
Yeah, so that's tough to answer, because so much of it is like woven into the fabric of the world, as opposed to being like, oh, here's this thing that we have. It's a little more subtle than that, because it's not really the point of the book, right? The book is very much relationally driven and character driven.
Yeah.
But they have a family that's given of their lightning magic for generations, and that's how they've been able to power a lot via electricity. So they have these magical batteries which power some of the vehicles that they have. There aren't a ton of vehicles in Anlon, the kingdom that we're based in, because a lot of the roads are older and narrow, but they have some, especially for transporting to like the other diamond kingdoms in the area they're allied with. So that was a cool thing that I really liked doing, was making these magical batteries. There's elemental magic. So my kingdom that focuses on wind, for instance, like kind of innovated wind turbines. You've got water, and so hydropower is a thing. The diamond kingdoms are allied, and they have been for generations. So they share these resources with each other, that kind of a thing, which I thought was just fun to do. And then Anlon, the main kingdom where Smoke and Light takes place, there's a sacred magical forest called a Cyrodiil. And they, in Anlon, harvest wood under these careful regulations, and then they use that to make magic field advancements. And that's where a lot of this kind of came from. So they use wood pulp, which I got to research a lot for this book, and it's fascinating. But wood pulp is in things like tablet screens, oils, inks, and dyes. You can use it for medicine, medical advancements, pitch. And so one of my characters has a tattoo that uses a Cyrodiil ink, and that gives a boost to their powers. And then the Palace Annex, where Kara lives, has elevators, and they're part of that like magic based. They have keypads and locks that are made from Cyrodiil wood and pulp, and then they're imbued with the lightning magic electricity. And so like you have these layers of security and advancements that kind of combine those two elements, which was a lot of fun to kind of come up with. But one of my favorites didn't even make the book.
Oh no.
Didn't fit it in. So it's just in my world building notes. But Ramsay, Kara's fiance, he's the sovereign of the kingdom. He was testing using wood pulp in the floors of the commons, which is where they gather to eat, in the Palace Annex, to produce energy, which came from a real renewable energy science study I just happened to stumble upon when I was researching wood pulp. And so I thought that was really cool, but there wasn't a natural way to insert that in the story. So I had to like just let it be in my brain.
I think I read that like years ago, because Tesla was had the firm idea that energy could be free, it could be easily harnessed and free for everybody. And I read something, or I watched, and I bet it was a YouTube video I watched, where they talked about what would that look like, and they talked about it. Well, it could be in the floors of our home. That the minute we enter our house, it charges our cell phone. It does all this stuff for us. And I always thought that was kind of interesting.
It's fascinating. I had no idea that wood pulp was like a thing.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I don't think I've gotten across. I mean, I've read about the forest, and of course, she keeps having dreams of it. But I don't think I've come across anything that's talked about how the wood is used in all this technology. We just are seeing the technology at work at the moment.
Yeah, there's a little bit here and there. You're probably close to some of it, but it's all just very casually mentioned, because again, it's not the point of the story. So it's just like subtle things, and it kind of explains a little bit of like, oh, hey, this is how we exist as we do. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I want to be able to talk about it more, because there's a lot of layers to it. It's just it can't go into an already chunky book.
Right. Well, and this is also going to be a series. So does the series follow the same characters all the way through?
It does. So all the Smoke and Light is like first person point of view from Kara's perspective. There is an epilogue of sorts, and it's from another character's point of view, still first person. So then in book 2, you're still following Kara, but there may be a couple of interludes with another character's point of view. So you're following the same characters throughout, more characters added in to the story as they move about and do what they need to do.
Well, and I think, first person, that's really common in YA fantasy. So
it is, yeah.
I tried it, I think, a few years ago, and I was like, no, I don't like this.
The funny thing is, I feel like I maybe write better in third person.
Yeah.
But the story absolutely needed to be Kara's point of view, first person, and like very close to her because of what it is. And so I was like, well, we're gonna do it this way, and it's not bad. Like, I don't mind writing in first person. And now I'm not sure. I have another series that I will hopefully get to outline soon. And I'm like, I don't know. It might be first person again. I thought it was going to be third, but
yeah. So how many books do you plan for the series?
This story in particular is a trilogy.
Trilogy. Okay. I thought I did read that there in your bio.
Potential for more that I only discovered in the last like year or so. So that's kind of on the back burner. This will be a complete story after the 3, but kind of spin-off kind of stuff that could happen.
Okay.
And these characters would still be involved. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot with authors, especially as you said, you're an intuitive writer. I'm an intuitive writer. If we don't plan it all out, we've got ideas of what it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to go, and that's how we know. Well, this is going to be a trilogy. But I've noticed a lot of writers, if they're in the middle of writing that series and they say it's a trilogy, it could end up being longer.
Yes. In my case, there are some other characters that would make sense to like have their own story or a combined story for them. Yeah. And I have had some scenes start popping up in my brain, which is kind of how I work. Like there will be a conversation or something and I'll write it down. I'm like, okay, pin in that for later, but I'll have the note in a half written piece of something. And so that's kind of started for these other moments. I'm like, well, it would be cool.
Yeah. I totally get that. I mean, in my book, my fantasy romance book, I knew there was another romance happening in the background. So I saw a lot of their scenes in my head as I was writing the book. And so I offered that as part of a stretch goal, that if we hit the stretch goal, that I would write that story. And so we got there and I wrote that story. I thought it was going to be a short story and ended up being not a short story, 72,000 words. So,
right. Yeah.
So, but yeah. Yeah, I do the same thing. And I've thought about in the future, because now I've started my Ream, which is, a subscription platform. I thought, so I thought in the future, and I don't know if this would cross your mind, but your readers like all that extra material. And I thought I should just go ahead and write some of these scenes and they could be extra bonus material that I offer.
Yeah, I have bonus scenes for Smoke and Light. I have a novella idea that I think I'm going to be writing eventually. It's just a matter of prioritizing. For me, health-wise, I have a lot going on and I have for a few years now. And so I have to really prioritize what I'm working on and when. And so like right now it is all this trilogy all the time. And, the other stuff that I have to do, even writing a bonus scene or, thinking about this novella, it's like, I have to pick one thing and focus on the one thing. And so it's the main trilogy is the focus right now. And then if I get to write a bonus scene or something along the way, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they always say the best time to do that too is at the end of the book because it's still fresh in your mind.
Yeah. So. And it's fun when you're doing first person, like single point of view, you can just go in and be like, okay, what is this person's point of view of this moment? And that makes it not easy, but kind of, it naturally flows to where you can do that, which is where my bonus scenes, during the Kickstarter, I had bonus scenes that are in the back of the hand signed covers and are available digitally. So there was like 2 other characters that got a point of view scene from that. So that was fun to do.
Did I get it? I did. So I must have that.
Yeah, it's at the very end. Don't read them yet. Don't look at them yet.
Yeah. Well, no. Is it in the e-version too? Because I don't like it when the books start becoming loose in the pages because you're reading them. So I'm trying to not read. So I'm reading the electronic version.
Yeah, it's at the end of the ebook. Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll see it there. All right. So now we move on to a couple questions I've asked all the authors, which is who is your favorite fantasy romance author or romantic fantasy author?
Yeah, this is really hard for me. I'm one of those people that is like, I can't pick a favorite. How do you pick a favorite? And I'm like that with movies too. It's always been a thing for me and I don't know why. But I really love Brienne Wick. She has One Iridescent Night, which is a Cinderella retelling, and it has like PTSD and trauma recovery rep. And I really, really liked that. It's a trilogy. And then she also has I think it's Married by Dusk. It was part of a multi-author thing, but it's an arranged marriage, fae, set in the same world as her Cinderella retelling, but different characters and like way in the past. So that one was really fun too. And then recently I've been doing a lot of audiobooks. I'm a total like library audiobook patron. And so I've got Deborah Grace White and Melanie Sellier, who both write like, they write other things like fantasy, but they have romantic fairy tale retellings. So they're this perfect blend of sweet romance and like royalty and having stakes without it ever feeling like too intense. So they've been really perfect for when I'm not feeling well and I just want a comfort read. I just kind of put one of those on. And the narrators are British, and so like they have soft British voices. It's wonderful. So like I highly recommend them. They're great. Deborah Grace White in particular has like a 6-book series that's really, really good.
Okay. Awesome. So what is your favorite fantasy or romance trope and why?
Okay, so favorite tropes like across the board. I really love found family. I really love the royalty trope. You can do so much with it, and I will read like so many variations of it. And Secrets and Lies, I have discovered, is one that I really, really love. I figured that out when I was reading the Renegades trilogy by Marissa Meyer, which is like superhero YA. So good and so much tension. And I was like, wait, no, this is a repeat. I love this trope, and it's in my book for sure. But it's one of those things where those are probably my top picks overall. But in terms of romantic fantasy and fantasy romance, royalty is still a big one there. So like that would probably be my number one. But I like slow burns, second chance romance, friends to lovers, toucher and you know, fake dating. I like arranged marriages, marriages of convenience, that kind of thing. I'm not against a love triangle, like as long as it's not too like
Obvious.
obnoxious, I guess.
Okay. I don't think it's obvious.
Yeah, forbidden love, different worlds, secret or hidden identities. I like those too. Obviously, I like amnesia and memory loss. As long as it's done well, like I'm a fan of so many things. I'm more of a mood reader. So I don't necessarily go like I must have this trope in my book. It's like, does this sound like what I want to read right now? And then I just pick it up and read it.
Might like my second one is Secret and Lives and Second Chance Romance.
Yeah. There you go. I have your books in my like ebook library. The problem is I struggle with ebooks really badly. But I got this app for Christmas that's like a text-to-speech accessibility app. And I'm hoping that that's going to let me actually read more of my ebooks this year.
Yeah.
Because it just, audio is way easier for me right now with everything I've got going on. So I'm like, maybe this year I will actually be able to read some of these books I've been really excited about and just haven't got to yet.
I consume most of my books in audio, ebook format. Audiobook. It's hard for me to listen to ebook. It's hard for me to hear audiobooks and understand what they're saying most of the time. So, but yeah, you have the YA trilogy. Is that what you have?
I know for sure that I have at least one or two of them. I don't know if I have the whole thing. And I don't know if I got your other one or not. See, this is bad because I don't even know what's in my library.
I wouldn't know either. It's too much. I got a lot of books in there.
I started making a list for in December. I think it was maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, I'm just going to write out all the indie like authors I have in my libraries. Cause I don't just have like Kindle. I read on my phone. I don't have an e-reader, which is probably part of my problem, but I have Apple Books that I like to use. I have Kindle app, and then I have a few others, but those
you have Book Funnel reader too?
Book Funnel, yes. Yeah. Like I was going through all of them and making a list. And then I had to stop because it was getting way too long. And I was like, there's no way. There's just no way. So
yeah, I don't know how I'm ever going to get through all of the books I have on my because I have the Kindle app on my phone and the Book Funnel e-reader.
Yeah, I like Book Funnel's app. It's nice.
Yeah. Hello, Kay. Thank you for stopping by. So yeah, okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the questions and answers. But again, for those in the chat, if you would still want to ask any questions, you're welcome to ask them at any time. We'll answer them. We'll keep checking in. So we are going to move on to fun and games. And Kristin, did you choose this or did I do it? I don't remember now.
Yeah.
You chose it. Okay.
It was really hard because all of the games sounded so fun.
Yeah. But there's definitely some that are more of a fan favorite. The Would You Rather questions and the Fantasy Romance Pictionary. Those are like fan favorites. Yeah.
Great.
And then I thought Mad Libs would be fun, but that creates so much dead air time. And then by the time I get it all put together, I think people are just like, okay, I'm over this. So the idea behind this game is that we're going to use pen, paper, something similar. I have a clipboard with just computer paper and a marker. And we're going to, play quick rounds of Pictionary with fantasy romance themes. We're going to try and guess what the other one is drawing. And for everyone in the chat, we'd love for you to play along with guessing as well. And I believe I set the time limit for 2 minutes. We can't speak. We can't use letters or numbers in our drawing. So did you want to go first? Don't start yet. Okay. I can go first if you want me to.
Yep. I made a list. I'm prepared.
I did too. I made a list. I've done this twice now, and I never made a list. I was like, man, I figure out which ones I think I want to do, and then I forget them. So I was like, I need to make a list this time. All right, 2 minutes on the clock. And ready, go. You can show us while you're drawing.
Oh. Me struggle busing with the basic concept of picture. Ugh. All right.
Oh, is it a bed? Pedestal? Is it Sword in the Stone? I can't see some of it.
Sorry, I'm looking. Okay. There we go.
Oh, okay. It looks like two people. Exclamation point in love. In a bed. One bed.
Yes. Where is my camera? There's only one bed.
Only one bed. Yeah. All right. Get my clipboard. Oh, hopefully, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm choosing an easy one to start, but I don't know.
Oh
no. Nope. Over here. There we go.
It's like that backwards.
Yep.
Okay. A ship, a boat. Oh, a pirate ship? Pirates?
Pirates. I was like, oh, I never even stopped the time. We got 2 done in 2 minutes.
There you go.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay. And go.
Ooh. Can you see this? I'm like, I don't even know if you can see what I'm drawing.
2 people in love. Triangle. Love triangle. No. Love spell. Lovers. Heart eyes. Eyes heart. Age gap. Under a spell. Spell of love. Love at first sight.
Yes, Laura.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Oh, Eva says stalkers.
What did we say about perception and different perspectives?
Yeah. All right. I got the next one. Oh, I think I yeah. Okay, I think I can do this. Okay.
A broom. Like, oh no. Flying. A witch. A broom. Oh, wait. Like a broom flying a witch. Broomstick.
Close.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
I don't read a lot of this stuff, so now I'm like, do I not know what I'm doing?
I'm gonna change it off. Okay, there we go. I took that off a while ago, so you guys just it off. So.
Flying by broomstick.
It's flying broomstick. I think we'll go with it.
That took me a while to get.
I was like, how else do I do this? Yeah, Eva just said witches. Cinderella. Oh, that would have been a good one. All right. Do you have another one?
I do. I have many more. Okay. Let me know when we're ready.
All right.
I'm going to use the same page, but.
Okay, and go.
Ooh.
The turtle. Turtle in the hair. Fire turtle. Love fire turtles. Mm-hmm. Love triangle. Slow bird. She got it.
Yes.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, that's what it would be.
A love triangle between a turtle and fire. That would be amazing, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
This one.
At first I was going like tomb, and now I'm like, I don't know.
Caveman portal. I kept looking, I was like, that looks like a portal. It doesn't look like what I'm trying to draw.
Oh man. I am stumped. A mirror. I'm like, I got one. Reflection. Magic mirror.
Yes, magic mirror. I was like trying to figure out how someone look in the mirror and sees the thing, and I was like trying to do magic around it. I was like, oh, that looks like a portal.
No, that actually does make sense. After I know what it is, it made a lot of sense.
Makes sense.
It's magic aura.
Yeah, I was trying. I was like, oh, I just made that look like SG, whatever that was called, SG9 or whatever those portals that they would go through to go to other places. But all right, do you want to do another?
I can do another.
All right, let's do one more.
All right.
Time is going. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to hold it this way. We're using the same page. Ignore all of this. All right.
Eva says second chance. Love triangle?
It is.
Is that what it is? Is love triangle?
Inspired by Twilight.
Oh, love it.
Our little sparkly vampire and our little wolf boy.
Wolf and the girl.
It kind of looks like a cat. Sorry.
All right. This one. Complicated.
Is this a duel? Oh no. We're sad. Enemies. To lovers.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Eve or Laura said this. Sorry. I
was like, I think it's a knife, but I'm not 100% sure. It's
I
like
was just trying to draw a knife. Yeah, assassin. I was thinking when I first drew it, I thought, oh, this does look like an assassin. I couldn't think of what the other person would be doing in response.
I mean, which is also a popular trope. So
sad sword fight.
yeah, yes, Laura, sad sword fight.
Oh, all right.
Amazing.
Well, that was fun. I wanted to try the enemies to lovers because that is my favorite trope to
It's
read
a
in.
lot of people's favorite. I like to give a little love to the friends to lovers because I do quite enjoy that one. I like enemies to lovers too, but
I like the tension that you can inherently build in the story with the enemies to lovers.
yeah.
So, all right. For those in the chat, you can still ask any questions that you want. It was a fun game. Yeah, it was fun. So if you have any questions for the author, you can ask at any time. We are now moving into the 30-minute writing sprint, and I believe, Kristin, you chose not to have a prompt, so we can work on whatever we want, whether it's reading, writing, housework, chores, job, whatever it is that you guys want to do. Is 30 minutes of dedicated time to complete something that you would like to get done. All right, well, if we are ready, and if you guys have any questions for the author, you can still drop them in the chat. We'll come back and have a chance for Kristin to answer any of the questions that you guys have.
Yeah.
We'll go in 3, 2, 1, and start. What did you do?
Sorry.
I saw you like looking.
I was working on a Kickstarter backer update, and I had hit the upload a photo button, and it was like, let's just freeze the screen for a second. I was like, no, let's not. Right as the timer is going off.
Right.
But that's what I did. I worked on a backer update.
I started setting up my streams for next week. I would have done it previously, but I joined I said yes to something back in January that I didn't remember until this past week.
Oh, no.
But it's March Madness. It's being put together by Chelsea from Written and Melanin, and I think Ash Writes a Lot is the channel name. I'm not as familiar with the YouTube creator, but the other few of us are like, hey, do you guys want to do March Madness? And I thought I was signing up for a single writing stream, but no, it was the whole month.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't want this big commitment, but I already said yes, so I'm doing it. My commitment is 2 days a week, but I've been waiting for the thumbnail and it still hasn't come. So I just let them know, hey, I need to set up my streams. I will just put a placeholder thumbnail up, and so I worked on the placeholder thumbnail and then got 2 of my streams set up for next week. But yeah, no writing.
That's all right. No writing really for me either.
Want an arc, a smoke and light apply here through this week. Are you?
I was trying to prep that before I forgot, and then I was like, oh, oops, I didn't mean to do that yet. And so I retracted it on the page and said,
oh, you did? Oh, it's not true. Let me hide that. Sorry.
It's okay. I was like going to link it. I was just like, oops, I didn't mean to do it. I accidentally pressed enter when I wasn't trying to.
I do that all the time because the delete button is next to my enter button on my keyboard, and so I'm constantly hitting enter before I'm ready.
Right. I was like, well, the link isn't there, but that's okay.
Yep. Hello, Nicole. Thank you for stopping by. And Amanda, good morning.
Oh, that's a cute picture, Amanda.
Yeah, I think so too. She looks very happy. I have enough time to ask an observed question, and also hope you're having a lot. Yes, I love this question. What was the hardest part of your favorite book to write? And she's asked all my authors this question when she's been here, because first you have to choose your favorite book, then you have to choose the hardest part.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't feel like this is an absurd question, but I mean, I've drafted 3 in this trilogy, right? And so like this is my debut novel, so I'll just talk about this one because it's easier to talk about it. Hardest part was probably making sure that there was enough information and being true to the situation that Kara is in with the memory loss and the recovery, because she's had she lost her memories in a rebel attack, and so she's been in recovery for months at the start of the book. And so there's things that I don't know, from my experiences and things I've researched, you don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to certain details around you when you're consumed with like health recovery, trauma recovery, all of that. But there were certain things that like I needed Kara to pay attention to. So it kind of went, it's like making sure that her story was able to be told in a realistic way and balancing that with like the things that actually like you as a reader do kind of need her to pay attention to, and when to do that and how that all works. So that's probably the hardest part. She's very easy character for me to write. It's just that aspect of it was a little challenging, and that related to like even her things that I knew about her relationships and the other people, but she doesn't know those things. And so like making sure everyone was fleshed out well enough while still Kara not knowing all the things.
Yeah.
It's a really complicated, like layered thing to do.
Do you think that, I mean, you've been dealing with the health issues that you have since last year. Was this book already written by that time? I think it was, because you're already doing your Kickstarter already.
Yeah. So I wrote the first draft of this in November 2019.
Oh, wow.
The idea for it I had for like a decade, but I wrote it, the first draft from November 1st to January 15th, 2020. And then wrote book 2 and book 3 the following Novembers, and then came back to edit in 2022.
Okay.
That said, I have the health issues that you're talking about started about 6 months ago. I got
Yeah.
sick. I've been sick. I've been sick multiple times in many different ways. It's very complicated, but I've also been dealing with like ongoing health issues since before that. So yeah,
Okay.
there are definitely aspects of that I could draw
There.
from my personal experience
Yeah.
from, with both trauma recovery and health medical related things. And yeah, it lended a little bit of authenticity to that and made it a
Yeah.
little easier for me to sit with those spaces and say like, okay, this was my experience. Knowing what I know from researching certain things, I was able to draw from that too. So there is a bit of that in there. Her situation is very different than mine, but you know,
Yeah.
there's
You
common
still
out there.
draw. Yeah, 2 years ago, around November, October timeframe, that's when my VA here was losing a lot of doctors, and I got pushed out onto the economy, and it was hard to get that transfer over. So I had a lapse in my coverage where I was not getting some of the shots I needed to help with manage my pain in my back. And so I was going through a lot of pain. I was in pain all the time. And I didn't realize how much it was influencing my writing. I wrote the opening chapter to the book I'm writing on now, where it says life is pain.
Mhm.
And then I also started the novella. It's a short story, and she has a skin disease that's always giving her pain. I'm like, wow, I really pushed this off on 2 of my characters.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very human, you know. It's very
Yeah.
human, and I think our characters that it just lends more realism to them to
Yeah.
have those kind of things going on. And in Kara's case, like you can't ignore what she's been through at all. Like she is very much in the thick of it.
Yes.
She's been
You
recovering
yeah.
physically for like 3 or 4 months, I think, at the start of the book. But
Mhm.
she's still very much struggling with the things that she's struggling with throughout the whole
Mhm.
trilogy. It doesn't just go away.
Okay. Good. Yeah, because it's hard. Those things don't usually go away. You can manage it sometimes, but it doesn't
Especially if
usually.
you're writing a book that takes place like this book is only a few weeks, maybe like I don't know, I think a little over a month.
Mm.
All the events take place, so it's like you don't really have a lot of time to work past that. So then book 2, you know, kind of picks up where you leave
This
off.
one moves
By
off.
the
Yeah.
end of the trilogy, it's not that much time.
Yeah. Any tips on writing a compelling, meaningful kiss scene?
Oh, smoochy, smoochy. Well, I mean, I focus more on emotion. That's in general and with romantic stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. My advice would be to focus more on that and then also layer in some of the um, physical stuff in there too because it does exist.
The
But
mechanics.
yeah, right, mechanics of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because yeah, I am very much the emotional side of things. So like, why are they kissing? What's going through well, in this case, what's going through Car's head? Like, why is she choosing this moment to have this kiss or not or whatever it is? And in her case, there's a lot going on with the comfort level, I guess, of like restarting a relationship that you've been in for years from scratch and having to reevaluate your comfort levels and all of that. So I think
Yeah.
the compelling side really does come from the emotional aspect and the decision making aspects of things and how you got there. Like, what is the build up for that
Yeah.
kiss? Whether it's late in the book, the midpoint of the book, wherever it is, like what's making that kiss meaningful in general and then how have you built up to it throughout the book. So I would say maybe even working backwards sometimes could help
Yes.
with that.
Yeah.
Knowing why that moment happens in that moment and what can you do to make that seem more powerful or more meaningful along the way. It's almost like foreshadowing but with kisses. Like dropping little
Yeah.
pieces of
I
things,
like that.
this interaction and this interaction where they don't kiss, they don't kiss, they don't kiss, and then they are kissing.
Yeah, and I haven't got to a kiss scene yet, but that buildup is already there from just like a time that he's like touched her arm and she felt
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
that attraction there. So
Yeah, like, little moments of attraction, little moments of noticing things about each other,
mhm.
little moments of, like, the physical of, like you said, touching, our arms touched or like our hands brushed or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I write no spice. I'm in the YA camp and I stick pretty close to that. And even Smoke and Light is like YA but it's still no spice, closed door kind of stuff. And that's where I stay. So like my perspective is all coming from that. So it's like the little touches and all of that.
I still think that everything you said is important, even for a spicy writer, because you've got to build up to that very first moment before you ever move past that. That first moment, I feel, is the biggest. That's what's going to draw your reader in to root for the couple to have that first moment.
Absolutely. And that, and if you're writing spicy stuff, it may or may not be earlier or later in the book. It just depends on what you're writing.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, I think it does depend what you're writing, but the thing that I've been hearing quite a bit lately, because I'm part of FARO, which is Fantasy Romance Discord group.
Yeah.
Are you part of that on Discord?
I'm not. So I'm kind of in this, I feel kind of in a weird space because I feel like I write romantic fantasy.
Mhm.
Like I would put this as romantic fantasy and it's not like pure romance.
Yeah. But
So
there's some here just romantic fantasy.
is there? Okay, so I get confused because I always try to be very, very specific because I don't want, like, if you guys are interested in just fantasy romance, like it needs to be super romantic all the time. That's not what I write, and so like I try not to. But we use romantasy so much in the bookish community to mean both now that
Yeah.
I kind of naturally fall into some of those spaces. So I didn't know that
Yeah.
Farah was like romantic fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jenna Moresi. I'm trying to. Yeah. She classifies, I think, her books as more romantic fantasy, and she's part of the group.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'll have to look into it more.
yeah. Oh yeah. So they talk about that a lot. What was I going to say? I thought I remembered my point, but now I don't remember.
Oh no.
We were talking about the 50%
most
mark is what they say. By like the 50% mark is when the first kiss should happen. And I'm like, but that's not always. I've read plenty of books that's not when it happens.
right. I mean, if you're looking at beats, like Save the Cat type beats for like romance, it usually is around the midpoint that kind of thing happens.
Like, this is one of my favorite books, and nothing really happens until like the last like few pages,
I mean, there's exceptions to the rule,
yeah,
or whatever, but
yeah.
I think no, mine would happen before the midpoint.
And see, I think this is considered fantasy romance too. I think she's put it as fantasy romance, but there is like I would say the romance that's there is kind of like what you're building up. It's just like the touches, the looks. That's the only thing until the very end, to like the last couple chapters, and then it blossoms. Yeah. And I'm like, most of it is just fantasy. It's really a fantasy story with just a bit of romance in there.
Yeah, and romance is so many things, right? Mm-hmm. It's not explicitly, it's not explicitly spicy. I don't know what things I'm allowed to say on YouTube, and I'm not, but I don't know, like it's not explicitly spice and it's not explicitly kisses. There's all these other, like, romance is so much more than that. And so you can weave in all these elements of what is romantic or what is romance throughout a book without it being, this is the moment.
I have a question, if it hasn't already been answered. How long does it take you to write a first draft, and how long to edit?
So I have been doing NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, since I was 14. I can write a first draft really fast. I think my shortest was like 2 weeks. And that was 86,000 words or so. That was when
typing?
Yes. Yeah, that was when I was 20, I think. Like I was in my college era, wrote that one really, really fast, had a blast doing it. Now I'm more in the, like, I can probably finish a draft in 30 days. I'm probably not writing every day of that either. But like I said, Smoke and Light, I probably outlined it in September into October of 2019. I started November 1st at like midnight because I was at an event with other writers. Like we launched NaNoWriMo at 12:01 a.m. It took me until January 15th, 2020. So that was like 10 weeks maybe for this one. And then I didn't start editing it until January of 2022. And I was in the midst of some heavier health stuff throughout the whole time I was editing. So that was me editing in spurts as I felt well enough to. So, how long does it take me to edit is not really a question that's easy for me to answer. It takes longer for me to edit than to draft for sure. But I also give myself a lot of breaks. So it would be maybe I was editing in January, February. I think I sent the draft to my CP in March. She got it back to me. I spent April doing my self edits again after her feedback, sent it to my editor in May. And then, stuff like that. So it's a lot of back and forth in the editing stage, at least for me. Went to betas in like September, I think, of that year. And then September, October was like getting their feedback. And then I started implementing after that. So it's releasing next Tuesday, March 5th. So that whole time I was doing different things. I did my last round of proofreading probably last fall. It was supposed to be done earlier, but I had severe health issues. So I was dealing with all of that. And so it was supposed to be done before my Kickstarter campaign last August. So that didn't really work out. So I had to like extend it. So I don't know, however you want to look at that. About a year, year and some change.
I mean, if
it'll be faster for book 2 because I
do think it does get faster as you go along too. And plus, like you said, there's other stuff that's in there. So like the amount of time that actually takes you to edit may be much, much shorter if you're able to do it that way. But
right. Yeah. And how many people are you involving in the process too? I did a CP, an editor for developmental stuff, beta readers for mostly developmental. I did a copy line edit, and then proofreading. And a lot of those, it went to my editor, came back to me. Like I did myself one, it went to the editor, came back to me, all of that. So,
yeah, I actually wrote my debut novel. Yeah, I wrote my debut novel in November of 2019 as well. My
nice. Yeah. It's funny because I think I was saying for 2 years before I drafted this one that I was just writing for fun. I was very involved in my local NaNoWriMo community. All of my close friends were writers, and I was seeing them do all this stuff, like really into their goals. And I was like, I'm just trying to get back into writing fiction for fun because I've been writing nonfiction for years. And I kind of had a fiction, nonfiction, fiction kind of layer. And so I was like, it's just for fun. But then once I knew Kara's story arc for all 3 books, which happened in March 2019, I was like, I know that this is a story I meant to share. And I was like, all right, that's what we're doing. And then from there, it's just been like snowball.
So I would say, Rachel, the pages on her wall are actually her friend's story. So we found that out at the beginning of the map is hers, but the rest of our friends' pages.
I was able to salvage this from my water damaged proof copy. But these are the pages of a friend's book that I had an extra copy of. So it took me maybe an hour and a half, I think, to do. It's not, I only did a short corner. Like it ends there, the window's there. But yeah, it took like an hour and a half. I used painter's tape on the back, little bits at a time. You just kind of layer them however you want. I didn't spray anything like this. It can all come off really easily. I say go for it. It's fun.
I do like the aesthetic. Life is painting when it says otherwise trying to sell you something, Princess Bride. Yeah, I love that. I love Princess Bride. There was actually a line I included in my A Curse of Scales and Feathers I thought came from the Princess Bride, and I went back watched the movie. I was like, no, it's not there. Where did I get this from? I feel like I got it from somewhere.
Surprise.
There's a rule for when a kiss should happen. I mean,
loosely, it's not even necessarily like a kiss. I think the basic rule is like
maybe this year, as long as it's catching by halfway.
Yeah, I think it's like if I'm remembering right, based on the beats that I was reading about, it was like by the midpoint, the relationship should be happening, basically. So like a lot of times that is a kiss or a first kiss, depending on what you're writing. But yeah.
She says, I had to check my first kiss scene is at 27% mark. It's only like 200 pages in, but I mean, 200 pages is quite a long story. Her book is thick.
Yeah.
So, that's quick. I have no idea where my first kiss is. I think it might be halfway by accident.
Yeah. I mean, I think naturally a lot of times it does happen about that way, depending on how you write and what the story calls for. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
I do think it depends on what's going on in the story too, because the alternate not short story that I did for my Kickstarter, I always knew that they were going to be like explosive in the beginning, and then it was going to go to like nothing. They were gonna, it was gonna be a back and forth until they finally realized, okay, this is something more. And then so the kiss happens pretty quick in that story. But I think it follows like relationships. Sometimes you do have something that's explosive, and then there's a cool off period. You're like, wait, this was just for fun. Wait, was it really? You know?
Yeah. And then there's like the books I mentioned that I read on audiobook, like a lot of those kisses don't happen till the very end because it's very much like it's the fairy tale retellings with like royalty and stuff. So like they're dealing with breaking a curse or like doing this other thing. And it's like it takes till close to the end, if not like the last chapter sometimes for like an actual kiss moment to happen. And that's fine. And it's a payoff and it feels like a payoff and it works.
Yeah. Well, in the Curse of Scales and Feathers, the brothers can't kiss people who don't have winter magic because they steal the cold or the warmth out of a person's body if they kiss them.
Wow.
So, yeah. So he doesn't kiss her until the very end. So yeah, there's no kiss until almost the very end.
See, you just never know.
Yeah. But the attraction is there. There's lots of flirting. There's lots of stuff going on. So all right. Well, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up the chat. This last call for any questions you guys might have. Could you tell us a little bit about what you're working on next and when it might come out?
Yeah. So I am working on book 2 in the trilogy. I'm in editing mode. And by I'm in editing mode, I mean I will be in editing mode as soon as my body cooperates again. I have the whole trilogy drafted, so I'm really focusing on getting it all together. So book 1 releases on Tuesday, March 5th, and then book 2 TBD whenever I get through. I think I'm maybe 25% through my developmental edits. I actually am adding a bunch to the story because once I got through my edits for book 1, I was like, oh, I know for sure that this section, I know my editor would be like, expand on this, please. And so I was like, yep, we're gonna go ahead and do that before she gets it. So yeah, I don't really have a solid timeline on like when other things will come out, but that's the plan.
Are you doing another Kickstarter on your book?
I mean, that is the intent. It'll probably depend on how everything goes. I really enjoyed my Kickstarter campaign. Like there's so many nice people, so many kind people on that platform. And I am still fulfilling, again, because of the health stuff and then some weather challenges. I just shipped out the last ship print books with sprayed edges over the weekend and still have a couple things to finish in terms of digital stuff. So once that's done, it'll be done. But as long as it's not going to be too much on whatever's going on with me at the time, then yeah, I would love to do that. It was always my intention to make Kickstarter a regular part of my publishing journey. I love the platform. I think it works for me. A short launch period, usually probably for me, a lot of early access kind of stuff. And then some special things thrown in, and then a period of rest. And then like the official launch is a good system for me, I think. So.
And I was there on Kickstarter as well because we were communicating back then. And then Rachel also had her debut novel on Kickstarter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
I love seeing that.
Yeah, and she was our first author on for Charm Chats. So she was on the first day.
I'll have to go back. I haven't been able to be on YouTube very much.
Yeah, no, understandable.
So many things.
Yeah. Amanda putting out there that her husband is now an audiobook narrator. You can check that out on Fiverr. That's cool. And then other Rachel came in. Hello, how are you? She's going to be the next author on this show.
Awesome, Rachel. That's cool.
And hey, other Rachel.
All the Rachels.
So, yeah. All right. Well, before we end the show, can you tell everyone where they can find you and purchase your books?
Yes. So you can find me on my website, KristinArdisBooks.com. I just got that up a few weeks ago, finally. So go check it out. It's pretty. I like it. You can also find me on social media. I'm primarily on Instagram at Kristin Ardis Books. I'm also on other platforms at Kristin Ardis Books for everything but Twitter because they said that was too long, which I guess is X now. I don't know. I'm really only active on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads right now, and I'm not super present yet. I'm getting back into it. We'll put it that way. I think all my links are in the description.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, perfect. You can
write your merch store.
Yes, if you want. you can come find me. You can check that stuff out. I also wanted to let you guys know that the book is on pre-order right now. So it releases next Tuesday, March 5th. So you can find it basically anywhere. Bookstory.com/smokeandlight will take you to like the master universal link list. You can also go to KristinArdisBooks.com/smokeandlight. It'll tell you more about the book and the world and the characters, and all the buy links are there. And then I also have ARCs available if anyone wants one. I'm sending more out through this week. So I have an application form I'll drop in the comments. It'll be coming from my Kristin Writes a Novel account, because that's the one I have linky access to over here. But that is me. That was my handle on all the things before my author stuff really started, and I switched to like my name.
Well, I see a lot of authors that keep with like author name rights or rights,
Yeah,
books or whatever.
I thought about it, and then I was like, I want it to be the same thing everywhere, so I just changed it. Except for YouTube, I just made a second one because I do all my subscriptions still on the Kristin Writes a Novel account, and then I have a separate one just for my readers that's going to be,
Makes sense.
readery things.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Kristin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and I'm glad that you kept your voice, because she did warn me before we started.
To go now, and I'm like, I ran out of my drinks, so now it's starting to go a little bit, but it's all
timing. Thank you everyone who came today and joined us in the chat. Next on Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, I'll have guest author Rachel D. Adams on. That's on Wednesday, so there's no author tomorrow, a day off, and then we'll have Rachel on Wednesday, and that's at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, which is the same time this one started, and we'll catch you guys all later. Bye.
Bye.